Yeah. What? Notes. Hillary's the only one that cares. You every time you go.
So when I found it, it's.
I'll be back Wednesday. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Gotcha. Good afternoon. It is 4 o'clock on June 6, 2022, and we officially opened this meeting of the Conway City Council. I'm very happy that each of you is here with us this afternoon. Madam Clerk, have we satisfied the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act? Thank you so much. And all council members are present, so we have a quorum. We will be led in our invocation and pledge of allegiance by the Reverend Wallace Evans. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, all. Let us pray. God, our Father, you are a good and perfect Father, and we praise your name. I thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. We thank you for life itself, for the measure of health and strength, and for the many wonderful opportunities you provide. Father, thank you for Mayor Bellamy and all the council members, the administrator, the department staff, and heads who serve this great city. As we stand in awe of your goodness and mercy today, we invite the presence of your Holy Spirit to lead and guide this council meeting and the agenda set before them today. Grant them discernment, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And most of all, help them to be keenly aware of your presence in this place and their sacred duty as public servants. Continue to bless and guide their decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Wallace Evans, we thank you so much. Thank you. We have before us an agenda. What is council's will relative to approving it, Mr. Hyman?
Mayor, I would like to make one deletion from the agenda under item 6C. That was a resolution honoring some people, and we had not informed everybody that they needed to be here. So I'm hoping we can just move that to a later date and certainly acknowledge and honor those people.
And with that deletion, are you asking that we approve the agenda?
I am.
Thank you so much. Is there a second? Mr. Goldfinch.
Second, Mr. Hyman's motion, please.
We have a properly seconded motion to approve the agenda. All in favor, please indicate so with a show of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. And now relative to the consent agenda, is there a motion? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as listed.
Thank you so much. Is there a second, Mr. White?
I second.
We have a properly seconded motion to also approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please indicate with showing your right hand. And motion also carries unanimously. Thank you so much. We will, we're now at item 5, public input. This is an opportunity for anybody to approach this council with just about any news or any concerns, any praise, of course. I have to say that it is not interactive. It is unusual that you'll get your answers from this group. Oftentimes, one of the department heads might offer you a business card, but you certainly will be heard. The only exception to approved material is that we will not hear anything that has to do with a single employee. That would need to be taken up in a more private venue. So for this purpose, you're allotted 5 minutes to speak. There are monitors in front and back of the chambers, and we welcome you to use all that time. If you start to run over, I'll let you finish a sentence. And if you're just like in the middle of a thought, I may give you 2 more seconds, but we're going to try to hold to the 5 minutes as closely as we can. Whoever comes forward, we're going to ask that you give us your name. Let us know if you live inside or outside the city limits, And please speak directly into the microphone. People, we have people who are watching us online, and certainly the people in the back of the auditorium are often unable to hear. Is there anyone present who would like to take advantage of this opportunity to speak to council under public input? Anyone? No one. Mr. White?
Mayor, I moved in that we close public input.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Helms? I'll second Mr. White. Thank you. We have a properly seconded motion to close public input at this time. All in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your right hand. That motion carries unanimously as well. Item 6, a special presentation. Item A is an introduction to the City of Conway Police Department's Comfort Dog. Chief? And I believe the dog's name is Finn.
Fred was a couple of weeks ago, we were able to swear him in as the first day in the area. He is one sir that we deal with different victims and children. That's all that he just played on. He's just like a cotton, cute kid there. It just brings so much comfort around. And as we can see across the state, there's just so much more things that we can do now. We can talk. But this right here just opens doors. As soon as they come in, they see just not threatening them with the dogs play there. But we are privileged and welcome him to our family, to our team, and he is the only comfort animal here in Irving County. We welcome him to the family.
And I invite you to help us welcome Finn.
You know, like it is, so you see that.
And I can imagine the comfort. I'm a little timid of other people's dogs, and I'd pick him right up. Such a cuddly pup. Thank you, Chief. We expect good things. Item B is the presentation of longevity awards for May 2022. Mr. Emmerich. They're not all-
And once,
Oh,
the
okay.
council created a program to recognize milestones of longevity in the city of Conway in 5 years. And tonight, we're great to have Chris Conway with us, who's been celebrating 15 years in the city of Conway. Chris retired in 2007 as a meter reader, and voted in 2016 to a water meter technician. Chris, thank you for 15 years in the city of Conway. I appreciate it very much. That's still appreciation, Cal. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chris. $15 really go by fast.
And so does he.
I guess that's how I got to be this old. Item C has been deleted from the agenda. Item D is a presentation of the National Garden Week proclamation. I am glad to invite all members of the various garden clubs in Conway to come forward and meet me in that corner, please. It's always the good-looking people who are shy about being seen in a photograph. If you can hold this for me, please. And I can adjust my volume. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, Conway, South Carolina, National Garden Week. Whereas gardeners have a passion for nurturing the beauty and resources of the earth through the planting of seeds, the care of all plants, and the riches of their efforts. And whereas gardeners seek to add beauty, splendor, fragrance, and nutrition to our lives through the growing of herbs, vegetables, foliage, and flowers. And whereas gardeners work to preserve our country's traditional spirit of independence and initiative through innovation and hard work. And whereas gardeners advocate the importance of all creatures, large and small, that share our world and their roles in a balanced and productive ecology. And whereas gardening promotes a healthy lifestyle, helps reduce stress, and teaches that rewards can come from diligent efforts. And whereas gardening enables members of the garden clubs across the nation and the globe to make a world of difference in the communities where they reside and work. Therefore, in an effort to acknowledge the importance of gardening and the numerous contributions of the Kame Garden Club Council, the Azalea Garden Club, the Camellia Garden Club, the Iris Garden Club, and the Ivy Garden Club, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Conway, South Carolina, I hereby proclaim the week of June 5th through 11th, 2022 as National Garden Week in the city of Conway, South Carolina. I encourage all Conway residents to enthusiastically engage in gardening and to support others who do. In witness whereof, I've set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Conway, South Carolina, to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2022. It is attested by our clerk, Alicia Shelley.
That's exactly the right person. Yeah, it's just.
Item E, a discussion of request to annex 20 and 7/10 acres of property located at Highway 501 near Old Dunn Lane. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. This is a discussion of a potential annexation. About 20 acres of property located on Highway 501. It's adjacent to property owned by the Hardy family. You may recall that we have recently annexed the Hardy's family property. We did a piece of property off of 548 and 501. And then we have additional property that was just on your agenda for the consent agenda, excuse me. Nope, it's later on. It's on under public hearing and first reading. That will be on the property. That is the property that is shown pointed out on the right-hand side of the map. And there's two small properties there that the Hardy family is annexing. Prior to that annexation, the property owners for Pinnacle Storage began process of implementing a storage facility on the property adjacent. They are now contiguous to the city limits and should be annexed in. However, they're already in the process of getting building permits with the county. We have been approached by the applicant and the county to discuss if there was a way to let them continue to a certain point before we go in with annexation, so that they don't lose the time that they have made and the progress they have made on 3 of the 5 buildings that they have in the plan. So staff has discussed it, and the city administrator may have more to offer, but we have a potential for allowing the annexation to proceed up to the point of first reading and then holding before second reading at which point we can go in and become the permitting agency. Along with that, our staff would be working hand in hand with the county staff to review the process or to review the project to ensure that once it's done, it will also fit our regulations. And we pass that by the county staff and by the applicant.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Well, Mr. Emmerich, would you like to add anything?
Yeah,
to that?
it's a weird one. The process of developing this property happened before they were annexable. They would still get our water and sewer at the space, so they still would have to annex at some point in the future. But when they started the development process, we could not annex them in. So they were doing everything by the book with the county. They got pretty far along in the project and now they're contiguous and now they have to annex. They're sort of caught in a limbo phase. Initially, we thought we should just make them come in, but it would undo all the work that they've already done previously at the county. So the thought was let them at least bring the application for annexation in and the rezoning in. Let us have first reading, hold second reading until after they get their CO from the county, and then bring them back for the second reading and annex them in. We felt that was probably the only way really to come to a solution that was not punishing them for something that was not within their control.
And it sounds like this is the only way to streamline the entirety of the process.
Otherwise, they would have to basically start the whole process over again, review our process, go through all of our reviews, and really that would be penalizing them for something that was not within their control.
And our staff our staff having had worked for the county, knew the standards for the county zoning review and know our standards and feel comfortable that they will be able to blend them going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is good news. So today, even though we anticipate by a second reading to be able to include a larger portion of property, we're in a position to move forward with this one today.
No, ma'am. This is a request to approve the negotiations that we discussed. If you approve this, then we will come forward to you with the application
I see,
at the
I
next
see.
meeting.
I see.
So this is kind of workshopish, but
Okay.
we wanted to be upfront with you before anything went forward.
Absolutely. But we are in a position that we can approve or disapprove that piece today. In that case, I move.
You can approve the plan.
Right.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
that case, I move to approve the plan. Is there a second? Both of you. In any order. Mr. White?
Second.
We have a properly seconded motion to approve staff's plan relative to the annexation of a single property and in the future, some connected properties. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor, please indicate your approval with showing your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item 7A, public hearing and first reading. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I skipped F just that fast. It must be my OCD stuff. Anyway, item F, a discussion regarding a non-exclusive franchise agreement for a Cupful Cafe LLC.
I'd like to introduce the city council to Miss Aubrey. She has a business called a Cupful Cafe LLC. As you can see in the picture on the screen, she has a very small trailer and she sells coffee and drinks from that non-alcoholic, right? Yes, non-alcoholic, because just when you say drinks. Before Aubrey is interested in operating in the city of Conway under a franchise agreement. But before we go forward with her public hearing notifications, which she will have to put in the newspaper according to state law, we wanted to discuss with you your feelings and your opinions about her plan of operation. She has some ideas about where to operate and want some time. Want to turn that over to her. She's talked it over with staff. We just want to make sure that we are coordinating all the right steps in the right place.
Thank you so much. How do you do?
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you. Like she
Beautiful.
said, yes, I'm Aubrey Cook. I have a Cupful Cafe. And I wanted to discuss being able to operate on Town Green. I'm thinking opening at like 7, 8, and ending that around 12 or 1. I chose Town Green because it's away from the other restaurants downtown that open for breakfast. I know there's Coppers and I know they open a little bit later. So that's kind of why I chose that spot.
Okay.
And days, what days? of the week?
Oh, and I was thinking Monday through Wednesday, since the weekend, I know we had the farmer's market going on in the weekend. So I chose Monday through Wednesday.
You, Ms. Harden, I believe that there's an ordinance that allows food trucks,
Yes.
such as what I would call
Yes,
your business, and that they gain individual permission to serve on public property.
they either serve on private property or they come to you for a franchise agreement to serve on public property.
Right.
Then that covers you both because it requires the applicant to have insurance to cover anyone that is participating with her business, which she does have insurance. We already got the proof of insurance for that. It also allows you to set where and when, and it does not allow her to maintain the trailer on the property. She has to take it off at the times that she leaves. That this is a entry level for Miss Aubrey. She wants to start this up, see if it would work, see if it works out well. I think that she has talked to some of the folks at the farmers market about potentially being in with them on Saturdays, but that's different. That's under a special event permit.
Right.
But a franchise agreement would provide her the opportunity to be in this area around the Chamber of Commerce, around the city offices, around the court, and not too far away from the county courthouse and the like, at the times that you would allow her to do that. And if it works out great, that's great.
Yes,
And if she wants to expand, she'd have to come back to you.
that's right. So my only question is, in order for us to say, to approve her business being on that location, there are times of the year when there may be a conflict. At Christmas time, there's a tree, and at any other time, there may be props or certain things that are in place. Personally, as long as those conflicts don't cause issue with you, I would be prone to approve. But has that been thought through?
Yes.
For a Monday through Wednesday, there's not any events that I can think of that would impact that. Now, there might be some things set
Or
up. on
did you
the
say
lot.
Monday through Wednesday?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
There
missed
might be
it.
some things set up on that lot that we could work around, but for that time frame, that's a pretty convenient time frame for most events.
Very good.
In addition, we highlighted the entire parking area around Town Green in case she needs to go off the Town Green itself because of the decorations, or if there is an event that's on Town Green that would conflict. Now, again, Monday through Wednesday is not very event heavy, but there's some flexibility in the way that the map was drawn so that she'd have the ability to still meet her customer base in that vicinity.
Wonderful. Any other comments or questions by council? Ms. Butler?
I just have a question about time frame. So will this agreement last for a year? Is there like a time frame on the time of the agreement?
A franchise agreement is year to year. She'd have to pay a $50 fee for franchising each year. At any time, the city council can revoke it if it becomes a problem. But she's locked in with the franchise agreement until the agreement is amended through the same process that we're doing here. So she would be allowed what time you set out now. If you want to be a little bit more generous to give her some wiggle room, that's your choice today. If you want to, get more narrow and see in the first year how it goes, that's also your choice. But the essential thing is that she can only do what you guys provide in the franchise agreement. And this is part of the review for the food truck process. So that's why we're here.
I have another question. If you get approved tonight, when are you going to open?
I mean, as soon as I can. You know,
As soon as legally possible.
it's legally.
Okay, wonderful. Anybody? Mr. White?
What about the brick and mortar buildings, businesses that are already presently here? Have we had a conversation with any of them?
I've made some relationships with a few of them. I have made sure that no one's really serving coffee, because I definitely don't want to compete with anybody that's, downtown and brick and mortar. So I've gone around and kind of done that kind of fill out. I have not spoke about this opportunity yet, just because I wanted to bring it to you guys first to see if y'all would be
Sure.
interested.
I'll add, Mr. White, that when we started consider the consideration for having food trucks at all, there was some conversation with the brick and mortar restaurants, and they actually thought it was a great idea. People tend to come to a location where there are lots of choices, and they thought it might improve their own clientele as opposed to just being competitive.
In addition, there's a separation requirement that Miss Aubrey's projected area would meet.
Good, good.
Thank you.
I think I'll call a vote then. All in favor of having coffee on the greens, please indicate with a show of your right hand.
If I may,
Yeah.
and thank you for that. What we need, and specifically from you today, before we go to first reading and public hearing, which would be on the 16th, if we can get
I
it
see.
done.
I see.
We need to know if you are in favor of the timeframes that Ms. Aubrey has said and the days and the location, and that's what we'll go forward with on the legal ad.
All right, that's what we just voted for.
Yeah, there's no vote needed tonight, but
Okay.
that
All right.
was
Well,
a
but all right, wonderful. But you have a sense of where our hearts are.
Yes.
And we wish you luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And best of luck to you.
Thank you.
This is not unusual that I get confused on what we're actually voting on and not. I apologize. Item 7, public hearing and first reading. A, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0620A to annex approximately 2 82/100 acres of property located on Bohemia Court, PIN 38311010002, and request a rezone from Horry County Planned Unit Development to City of Conway Light Industrial. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is part of the Atlantic Industrial PUD located behind 501 or on the north side of 501, colloquially known as the area behind Lowe's Hardware off 501 and Century Circle. The property up for annexation, as we discussed in a workshop, is highlighted in light blue. There are already properties adjacent to it that are in the city limits, including the Lowe's hardware store and a couple other industrial properties in the industrial park on Bohemia Court as well. Property is currently vacant. The property owner did contact me today and sends his regrets. He was stuck out of town. I asked him the questions I thought you would ask, including what would be there. And the intention is to be a home supply store or home supply distribution location. So things that go into making a house, some of the supplies would be located there in a building. The future land use map also supports the zoning that's requested, in that it's industrial. That typically, again, we come in with a rezoning in residential areas, we go straight to R1, but when it's in a commercial area, we want to make sure it gets the right fit. So we check the land use map and it does. The utilities are also available in that area. Planning Commission at their meeting recommended approval, and staff supports Planning Commission's recommendation.
Thank you so much. This is first a public hearing. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to speak either in favor of or against this change? Mr. Hyman? Thank you. Is there a second? Go fetch. We're probably seconded motion to close public input or the public hearing. All in favor with show of hands, please. Motion carries unanimously. Now this is also first reading. What is the will of the council? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Jordan. We have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. Are there questions or any discussion? There being none, I'll call a vote. All in favor of approving first reading, please indicate with the showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item B, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0620B to annex approximately 3 acres of property located at West Highway 501, PIN 32609010001 and 32609010002, and request rezone from Horry County Commercial Forestry Agriculture to City of Conway Highway Commercial. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. These are the two pieces of property we talked about earlier that belong to the Hardy family off of 501 near Old Dunn. As you can see in the current zoning map, this is property just outside of Highway 548 and 4 Mile Road. And the future land use map indicates both properties would be highway commercial, which is the requested zone. So that helps out a lot and makes it easier on us. Planning Commission recommended approval, as does staff.
Thank you so much. This is first a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to speak before this council relative to support of or to stop this annexation? Anyone want to speak for or against it? Butler. Thank you. We have a motion to close. Is there a second? Mr. White?
Second.
We have a properly seconded motion to close public hearing on this matter. All in favor, with a showing of your right hand, please. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And now relative to first reading of the ordinance, what is the will of the council? Mr. Hammond, I'm sorry, I didn't look up fast enough.
Mayor, I make a motion for the first reading.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Jordan? We have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading of this ordinance. Any further discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Item C, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0620C to rezone approximately 3/400 of an acre of property located on Session Street, PIN 33806030081 from City of Conway low to medium density residential to City of Conway highway commercial. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. This is a piece of property as stated off of Session Street near Main Street, shown in blue on the screen and shown in the flag on the map. Current zoning map shows that the property is zoned residential, which is the light sand color. The dark red colors are highway commercial and commercial-based operations. There are neighborhoods between Main Street and excuse me, sorry, can't read that from here. You can see the neighborhoods around the churches and in this area that have been established for a long time. Staff pointed this out during the planning commission meeting that we have established neighborhoods here. Planning commission also pointed out that in the past, other areas have extended into the neighborhood with one lot over to support the properties that are located along Main Street. The future land use map does not show any change from the residential. The property is currently vacant, but the applicant who owns the freeze has stated that they need the property behind them to expand into in order to accommodate cars and the line that goes through the drive-through. They wanted to make a space for parking and for children's activities on that lot. As we talked about before, the site next to it is currently under development for a single-family residential unit. We did notify all the property owners within 200 feet and have not received a callback from any of them. So we go forward with no comments received on this item up for review. The planning commission, based on the patterns that have been done in other other intersections, recommended approval. Staff was still standing by the future land use map. So we leave that up to you now.
So that means that staff ultimately is recommending that it remain residential. Thank you, ma'am. This is first a public hearing. Is there anyone present, Mr. Young, anyone who wants to speak either in favor of or against this rezoning?
Oh, thank you so much. This piece of property right here is not some property that we could have taken care of and had rezoned a long time ago. This is the first time this property has come up for sale since 1969. So we were lucky to be able to get it, but it's the only property that's there that will ever give us a chance to expand and move forward. We have been a part of that community for 70 years. This year marks 70 years that that business has been there. And it's not my intention or anyone else's going there and make a bad neighborhood. My intention is to make a nice place for your family, your friends to be able to come, to bring your children, and then also take it and have extra lot. We want to take and make some activities back there, some swings, maybe things for some children to come and play. We do a lot of stuff with the schools, and that's one thing we like to do is have more room where they can actually come, because inside we just don't have enough room. But we have created an outside spot, but we're doing that. It also takes a lot of the parking. So what we really need is an extra room that we can make it where we can flow the parking and flow the cars through there without so much backup as you know, probably sometimes there is now. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I think it's very important. If the staff doesn't approve it or doesn't think it should be, I do think they should leave contact me. Told me so. That's my opinion.
I understand. Could you give your name for the record, please?
My name is Bruce Young.
Thank you, Mr. Young. We talked about this at the planning commission meeting when Mr. Young attended. We just stand by the future land use map.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfinch.
Bruce, I got a question for you and you too, Ms. Harden. Would we join this would this become one tax map number? Would,
It could with the rezoning, yes, sir. It could be combined with the property up front.
okay. Any plans to do anything with the store? I mean, I know, I hear what you're saying. Yes, sir. Okay, sure.
If, Mr. Young, I've known you since you were a chap in shorts. Which means that I really want to help this work for you. I think your business, has been important in this city, as evidenced by the line that's out on Main Street. Until I saw that house going up. And that is the thing that gives me a little pause when it comes to your being able to, our being able to turn that into commercial as well. I just wanted to explain. You didn't have an opportunity. Yes, sir. Well, don't say that too loud. You're telling my age. Yes, sir. Anyone else have questions or comments?
And the planning commission did recognize Mr. Young for his years of service with the business as well as part of their discussion.
Yes, thank you so much. Mr. Hyman.
More comment. I don't know if I guess we probably need to close public hearing aspect of it.
Did we not close it? Oh, I'm so sorry. So let's do that, please. I move that we close public hearing at this point. Is there a second? Mr.
Second.
White, thank you. All in favor with the showing of your right hand, please. So public hearing is now closed. Please move forward.
Okay, you know, it would give me more heartburn if it was not me and it was somebody that was willing to put a different business. I think Mr. Goldfinch kind of talked about it a little bit in regards to joining the properties in the one so that it later couldn't be sold to another. And we had this come up on 501 with a gas station that wanted to extend it back a little bit to enlarge part of their freezer. I think it what it was. And you kind of had the same issue come up. And again, with that, we looked at the fact that it was going into an existing business that was already there. And I'm more inclined, I think, you know, looking at this and the fact that it is joining your existing business. Would you be willing to put it all? I mean, we can't really ask you to do that, but is that the thought to make it all one parcel?
I don't think about it.
I'm going to ask council to please use your mics. People in the back and people who are online aren't going to be able to hear us. Mr. Goldfinch.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking at a sort of the map of it and can you go back, Ms. Harden, can you go back to that other? Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's
You want
fine.
future land use? or
So,
current?
no, ma'am, that's fine.
Okay,
So you've got the freeze and then you've got the lot directly to the east. The lot in question, yep, with the flag on it. And then you've got another lot
correct.
and then you've got the house.
Yes.
So you've got a natural barrier. You've got that lot that between the houses and the proposed rezoned lot as a buffer, right? That's wooded.
No.
Am I seeing that?
That's where a new house is being built.
Not anymore. Okay,
No,
okay.
I'm sorry.
So those,
I'm sorry.
and I hear what you're saying, because it wasn't long ago that we denied a rezoning. It was on the inside of Session Street in an established neighborhood, but the houses being built are spec houses. I mean, they'll see, hey, this is gonna, in other words, we're not moving in on top of someone who's already there. Those houses have not been built.
The property is still owned by a development company, not
Correct.
us, not a single property owner.
Right. And I think that's, to Mr. Hyman's point, that's what I'm inclined to go for it. Because
And what that means, pardon me,
yes,
Well, and that's Harwick's, am I right? That's on Sherwood and.
that's correct.
Yeah, and then on the other one is the Conway feeding them.
so what you're saying, I think, is that whoever decides to buy a house there will buy it with this already in place.
Correct.
They get to choose to buy or not buy, understanding that that lot is highway commercial.
If you approve the
if we
rezoning.
approved it.
And speaking of your business in 70 years, that's not something that a lot of people can say. And in the future, I'd love to see, when y'all get to it and have a bigger footprint for parking and a renovation of some sort. And, there's just not a lot on North Conway that can provide that. And I mean, and that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And there will be buffers required from highway commercial to residential.
Mr. White,
We have moved that we approve this rezoning.
thank you. Second,
I'll second.
we have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading for this rezoning. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say on council? There being no more comments, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. I feel better too. Item D, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0620D to rezone approximately 9 acres of property located on Mill Pond Road, PIN 338-0000-0008 from City of Conway, low to medium density residential to City of Conway Conservation and Preservation. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is a proposal to rezone basically the high ground of property across from the Conway Sports and Fitness Center in order to locate a gymnasium on the property. The current zoning map is shown on the screen and the property area is shown with a flag. The property that is outlined in light blue is the total, the 39 acres of property that's owned by the Jenkins family. It has access to Church Street only through the canal. That is Crabtree Canal that forms the boundary in the rear. There are a considerable amount of wetlands up there. And then the high ground is along Mill Pond Road next to the Rock Church. The applicant is seeking to build a gymnastics building in that vicinity and has received permission from the property owner to purchase 9 acres of the property, which is what they propose. The remaining property is basically wetlands. You can see on the map, the yellow line is oh, come on now. Well, you can see the yellow line, right? And that's the property boundary proposed after the purchase. There's a small area of property left over for overflow parking for the rock as it's marked on the exhibit, but the rest of it would be primarily wetlands. And we've reached out to the family that owns the property and asked them if they would consider maybe rezoning the rest of it as conservation preservation, because the current zoning of R1 indicates there might be a developable area when in reality it's going to be extremely difficult, if not hazardous.
Is the entirety of the 9 acres uplands?
No, ma'am. There's a small portion of wetland crossing where the creek crosses, or one of the creeks crosses off of Crabtree Canal here. But the majority of the usable land is here. If This other section of Highland is in this area, also being conveyed to Thomas Gymnastics. If they want to use that section, they'll have to come up with a way to cross that wetland that will fit in with the Army Corps of Engineer and city flood regulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? Well, I'm sorry, we have to first do public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to speak either in favor of or against this rezoning? Mr. Hyman? Thank you, sir. Mr. White?
Second.
We have a properly seconded motion to close public hearing. All in favor? Please show your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Now for
My
questions.
apologies. I also forgot or no, I didn't get to that slide. And the rezoning passed through recommendations with Planning Commission, and staff also recommends rezoning.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I didn't intend to do that. I
That's on me.
apologize. Mr. Hyman?
Mayor, if the current owners are so inclined to agree with doing this conservation and preservation and Thomas Gymnastics, people buying the 9 acres can do what they want with conservation preservation. Just makes sense that we do the whole thing, conservation preservation. I know we're only here for the 9 acres, but
We did notify for all 39 acres when we identify who we're going to who we're going to talk to or send letters out. We identified the whole property and sent letters out to everyone within 200 feet of the whole property, not just the 9 acres.
It would be legally prudent to make that in the form of a motion to rezone the entirety of the property. And then we'll reach out to the family that owns the remainder to make sure that they're still on board. We do have it in writing that they're okay with it. If there's no objection, then we'll put it on consent for the next agenda as well.
Wonderful.
so moved.
Seconded. So we have a properly seconded motion to approve first reading so long as the entirety of the 38 acres, is it?
39, I believe.
39 acres are included as preservation conservation. Is that well?
We can make
Is
that work.
stated well enough? Okay, wonderful. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I seconded your motion. Comments or questions? There being none, I'll just call the vote. All in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your right hand. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's Monday. Item E, public hearing and first reading of ordinance CA 2022-0620E to amend Article 6, Section 6.6.2, accessory dwelling units of the Unified Development Ordinance regarding size requirements as well as conditions. Ms. Hart.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. This is a proposal to amend the Unified Development Ordinance to provide a little clarity under definitions and to provide some limitations on accessory dwelling units. ADUs or accessory dwelling units are those units that are often called casitas or mother-in-law suites or someplace to put my teenage child because I need to. And they are allowed in the code, but we want to clear up some of the language. The first thing under the definition, we want to include that it's not just may be referred to as an ADU, it is actually in the market referred to as an ADU. So for developers that are looking for things in our code, it's easier for us to just go ahead and call it ADU in the directions. For the number and size, there is a limit of only 1, and that'll be in conjunction with a permitted single family detached dwelling, whereas an attached dwelling already has 2 units typically on one piece of property. It would be single family detached dwellings that would be able to have these. A maximum of 1,000 square feet, because the code used to have the ability, one section said a maximum of 1,000 square feet, one said half the size of your house. And if you have a 3,000 square foot house, suddenly you've got a 1,500 square foot ADU, and that's bigger than my house. So, hey, I'll move in with you. It's okay. So we wanted to make sure that was limited, and then the ability to rent, we wanted to take that out, that no leases of ADU shall be permitted, in part because our comprehensive plan goals do support affordable housing options. And when you have the trend now is multi-generational housing, you don't want mom to be in a nursing home, but you want her to be close to you, but you also need your space. You guys can have 2 separate living areas in the same property. You can take care of your family. You can also support special needs people. I have an autistic son. If I wanted to build a casita in the back to give him his privacy, so I don't have to listen to video games at 2 a.m., that'd be a great idea. I'd be all for it. In addition, the population element, we're receiving a lot more people. As you might have noticed, we have more people in Conway than ever. And with a diverse population, we need diverse options for housing. So those sections of the comprehensive plan would support that notion about the accessory dwelling units being rented. For instance, again, if you have a mother-in-law suite and your mother-in-law does progress to assisted living, then you have the option to rent it out if you need. These were all reviewed by the planning commission and recommended approval as does staff.
Thank you. I'd like to just add one comment, and that is, nor are you precluded from charging your 25-year-old son from paying rent.
Oh, he knows.
This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to speak either in favor of or against the approval of ADUs in the city of Conway? Anyone? Is that Finn? I don't know whether that was a yes or a no.
Ben wants his own ADU.
There being no one, Ms. Butler. Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Goldfinch?
I'll second that.
We have a properly seconded motion to close public hearing. At this time, all in favor, please show your right hand. The outcome is unanimous. And now for our first reading, what's the will of the council? Mr. Hammond.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve first reading.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Jordan. Thank you, sir. We have a properly seconded motion to approve ADUs in the city of Conway. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item F, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2020-20620 F to amend Title 5, Chapter 3 of the City of Conway Municipal Code and Article 14 of the Unified Development Ordinance. I'm sorry, is that the one we just did? No. UDO to move public hearing responsibilities to the planning commission and amend the planning commission rules and procedures to reflect the change. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. We're going to take one for the team and take public hearings and put them in with the planning commission if you approve this ordinance. As we did, as we've done constantly since I've become a director, we're looking for ways to improve our processes and ways to become a little bit better on our timing on responding to activities. So one of the ways that we identified that there was a gap for timeframe was in the current procedure between the planning commission's meeting and the first public hearing with the city council. And that if we had that public input up front with the planning commission, we might be able to solve some of the issues that the public would have in the time before you get to first reading for an ordinance. And that's our goal, is to help make sure that what comes before you is as solid as it can be. And we need that input up front. So we ask that moving the public hearings to the planning commission. If you approve this ordinance, it would start with the July meeting. And we would have public hearing notified with the planning commission in July. And the process would be that the applicant provides the application to the city. You would get a special review letting you know that this was coming forward and going to the planning commission for public hearing. In 2 weeks, they would have a public hearing, and in 2 weeks, they come to you for first reading, and you could be done in another 2 weeks. We take out almost a week of business days by doing so, and hopefully can use that time to help that business or that resident adjust to their new status. So.
Thank you so much. I can imagine a lot of benefits coming from that early response from our public. But this is indeed a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to speak either in favor of or against this change to Title 5, Chapter 3 of our municipal code and Article 14 of the UDO to move the public hearing to the public to the responsibility of the planning commission and reflect that change in their rules and procedures. There being no one, Mr. Goldfinch,
Mayor, I we close public hearing of said ordinance.
is there a second? That's right.
A second.
Or probably second motion to close public input, the public hearing portion of this matter. All in favor with showing of your right hand, please. Motion carries unanimously. And now relative to the matter before us, what is the will of the council? Mr. Goldfinch?
Mayor, I got a question. It's hard. Can you provide some clarity on, I understand the public hearing going to the planning commission.
Yes, sir.
Would there still be a public hearing in front of us?
There would not be under the plan that we have on the paper. You could have one, you could have a second one. But the one that is required by state law would be achieved under the planning commission's opportunities. And if you felt like you needed additional public hearing, you could add that to it.
Nothing would make my fat heart happier than to do this because, we're putting it off on someone else. I just think we have a duty. We answer to our constituents, the planning commission's appointed. Or whatever, commission. And I don't know, I just would.
If I may help you with that.
Sure, please.
First of all, thank you for your heart. I appreciate that. The second thing is that the planning commission isn't just your appointees, they are also your constituents. And they represent you on a monthly basis in front of the public anyway, as it is. By having it go to the planning commission gets to be that de facto worker group that says if the applicant comes in and the public doesn't like it, then the applicant and the public and the planning commission can help come together with some kind of answer to bring to you. And then if you don't like it, you can still send it back. But the public's words are coming in earlier in the process. And that's important because as a planner, we do the best we can, but we don't live in those neighborhoods.
I see that value. That is very clear.
And there's nothing to keep you from having public come to the city council meetings. And there's nothing to keep you from attending and listening in on a planning commission meeting. But in order for the planning commissioners to do the best work of giving you their best advice, they need more input from the public up front. And we are already required by law to notify folks within 15 days of any time where we're having a conversation about the development. And so in order for the planning commission to have any input, we need to have that public notice. If we extend the public notice to both the planning commission and here, we are further extending the deadlines and further extending the time frame for development. And I really want to try and make this process a little bit better.
You've made me feel less guilty and so much better about myself. Thank you.
Mr. Hyman.
I will say this got brought up before.
Mr. Hyman. Use your mic.
I reached out to the chairman of the planning commission just to ask him, is this something y'all want or not? And his response to me was, we would really like to hear this because he flat out said, he said, there's a lot of times when we don't hear about anybody fussing about anything we've done until it gets to council.
Right.
So he led me to believe that planning commission was all for this and really wanted the public input. And as somebody who has served on planning commission before, I think it's definitely helpful.
It definitely helps. It gives a personal perspective to the work that the planners do to do the staff report. And we can bring all of that together to you. And we are not stopping anybody from attending the meetings. We're absolutely not stopping them from having an opinion. Many a times have happened in my history where someone came to the planning commission meeting, was absolutely against something. The planning commission moved it on anyway. They came back to city council and said, I'm absolutely against it, because that's their right to do so. That's what the public section of this is.
Mr. Emery.
The one thing I like about this is, and again, I don't have a vote, but when we come to this venue here and you've got an agenda with a mix of public hearings and a mix of not public hearings, and you ask for public input at the beginning of the meeting, and someone stands up for something that's public hearing, there's a little bit of an embarrassment factor when they realize that they shouldn't have stood up then, they should have stood up at a later time, and it might actually be discouraging some of that public input, or at least making people feel weird about how they gave it. and I've come around late on this too, but by moving planning commission, the public hearing to the planning commission, what that does is allow everybody to be on equal footing for public input in this meeting. With the public input before the agenda items, when they come up, they're coming up for anything on the agenda. And I think that's going to help streamline the meetings a little bit and make the public input a little more efficient. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Mr. Goldman.
Mayor, I move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman?
I'll second Mr. Goldfinch's motion.
We have a properly seconded motion, and once again, I'm going to keep the floor open for more comments or questions. Mr. White.
Have we officially, notified the, commissioners that this was coming?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness.
I've been
I'm
called worse.
looking at the. Oh,
I
yes,
get you on
sir.
this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we brought this to city council as an idea, we also discussed it with the planning commission
you.
and with some other developers. The developers recognize that they have sometimes been given the green light by the planning commission at their meeting at the beginning of the month, but the beginning of the next month, the public comes out and they had no idea that there was all this and all this angst about their project. And they've lost 4 weeks when they could have been redesigning it before it came to you for first reading. So yes, sir, we reached out to a lot of people.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We have a standing motion on the floor and I'll call vote. All in favor of approving, I believe this is first reading, is it not?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just moved my paper. First reading of this ordinance. Please indicate your favor by showing your right hand. And the count is unanimous. Thank you so much. It's approved. Item. Sweet seats. I know it gets confusing. Item 8A, first reading of ordinance first reading of ordinance 2022-0620G to dissolve the special tax allocation fund and terminate the designation of the redevelopment project area. Mr. Kratz, welcome.
Madam Mayor, Council. Tax increment financing or TIF was used to construct the Conway Recreation Center located on Mill Pond Road. This ordinance is just to close out the TIF. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you so much. I move that we approve this ordinance. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman? Thank you. Any comments, questions? Thank you. All in favor, please indicate your pleasure by showing your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. That is good news, Mr. Kratz. Item B, first reading of ordinance 2022-0620H, updating the procurement ordinance.
The current procurement ordinance was approved by City Council in 2006. The proposed changes were presented to council during the retreat in March of 2022. Council directed staff to bring an updated ordinance for consideration. The proposed ordinance would repeal the existing ordinance and replace it with a more modern document. There are minimal changes, but the biggest change would be for council's approval on any purchases exceeding $25,000 instead of the current value of $10,000. Do you have any questions at this time?
Apparently not, Mr. Kratz. Mr. Goldman?
Mayor, I move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
I second your motion. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with a showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cross. Item C, first reading of ordinance 2022-0620 I'm sorry, I don't know my letters. Updating the utility billing ordinance, Mr. Kratz.
We have always had established policies and procedures in the past. This is just to codify the policies and procedures. These changes will allow our utility department to operate with a more detailed and formal set of guiding rules. This was discussed at the retreat in March 2020, and council was asked that we bring it back. So do you have any questions at this time?
Thank you. What's the will of the council? I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan. Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman?
I'll second Mr. Jordan's motion.
We have a properly seconded motion to approve this item. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. White?
There is a lot of information in this document. And for the average person that wants to know something, he or she would have to read this whole document, or would you be willing to give them a condensed version of what they're looking for specifically?
Yes, sir. We can do that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. White.
I'm gonna
Let's go, Finch.
piggyback. I was thinking it, but I didn't say anything. And Mr. White, you opened the door for that. And I mean, is there something like in there that y'all get off Fridays or something? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. And I'll confess, I mean, what else is in here? That we don't- Well, I'm being facetious, but
Yeah, there was a lot of gray areas and this just sets it in stone. It's black and white. There's no question about it. So it just makes it easier for us to explain to our customers as to what the rules and everything is they need to follow. So.
For instance, Mayor, there was a question, I think it was Christmas time with an account that we found that was in the name of a deceased person and had been for a number of years. And when we were, you can't have an account in the name of a deceased person because you can't collect on it, you can't run credit, you can't do those sort of things. When we told the person who had been paying the bill that they needed to bring it into an account holder's name of a person who was alive and could do all those things, we were met with a major question of how we had the authority to do that. And so when we looked at the policy, we realized there wasn't a clear-cut policy on it that was in writing that we could point to. There was some roundabout ways. We've just made it very clear. That's one of the things we cleared up in this, to make it very clear that that is something that you have a certain amount of time to be able to bring that into conformity. And that, again, we did discuss this at the retreat in March, and those are the policies that are updated in this packet.
All right. And in that instance, it was about having to come into the city, and it
That's
was
right. That
just all
triggers the annexation. That's right.
wonderful, wonderful. Anyone else? So where are we? We have a motion and a second. All right, I'll call a vote. All in favor, indicate so with the showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item D, first reading of ordinance ZA 2022 0620 J to annex approximately 1 acre of property located at 3011 Long Avenue Extension, PIN 324 10020008, and request a rezone from Horry County residential to City of Conway low to medium density residential.
Yes, ma'am. This is a proposed to connect to our water and sewer division, our water and sewer services, as requested. We require annexation if, when they are adjacent, and so they're filling the requirements.
Wonderful. I move that we approve this ordinance. Is there a second? Mr. Goldfinch.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you. We have properly seconded motion. Is there any discussion or are there questions? There being none, all in favor, please indicate so with the showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Harden and all. Item 9, consideration A. Consideration of a redevelopment enhancement incentive application for Hoppenwich. Ms. Harden.
Yes, ma'am. This is for a upcoming restaurant that we're excited to see come in at the corner of Third and Laurel, Hoppenwich, at 1029 Third Avenue. The city program allows for the city to reimburse any person, firm, or corporation 100% of capital recovery fees. Then the capital recovery fees are one-time fees charged at the connection of the city's utility system at the time of permit, both demo and construction. The applicant in question, property is shown on the site plan, is involved in the CBD district, which is one of the areas that this incentive applies to. They paid $57,000 in May for tap fees, $725.88 for building permit fees in May 22, and building demo for the internal demos of $150 in February of 22. All of these fees have been verified and has properly filled out the request for the incentive, and ask that you approve it.
Thank you so much. Mr. Emery, when the city council has set forth the ordinance and when the ordinance has been satisfied, why is it necessary to bring that before?
In the
council?
last renewal of this ordinance, council asked to make them be the ultimate authority on this incentive. Prior to that, it was once you've
You
approved
could
it, the
sign off.
administrator can sign off on it.
We can change that.
The one, um, the only problem that I see with this is that it's necessitated a delay of a month for the applicant to get their reimbursement. And for some, you're talking about several hundred thousands of dollars that they might have to take a loan out to be able to cover a bridge loan to be able to cover that payment. So, we did not hear any complaints from the applicant on this one, but I could anticipate that coming in a future time.
I don't remember the discussion that made it come back to council. It just seems to me that once the rule is in place, that we certainly trust our staff then to enforce that rule. I like to think that that's the case. Maybe this needs to come up at our next meeting. I don't remember what the impetus behind that decision. I don't remember what
Let
was
us take a
going
look
on
at
that
the
time.
meeting that it was done and
Please
we'll
do.
come back with you with that. Yeah.
I mean, this just seems to be way too simple. They meet the criteria or they don't. You check to make sure they do, you rubber stamp it. I don't see that as something that necessarily needs to come before the council. And it sounds like you agree, but if you bring it before the council again, we certainly want to look at that again. All right, thank you. So, but in the meantime, we have to make a decision on this one. Did you make a motion? And did I second
Sure.
it?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, did we?
I move that we approve, the application for copyright.
Thank you. And I second your motion. Is there any other discussion? There being none. Those of you who would approve this, please show your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item B, consideration of approval of Crabtree Forest Main Park. No, I know how to say this. Consideration of approval of Crabtree Forest Main Park Hill Pump Station funds. Mr. Frazier, Friday? Okay, Mr. Friday.
Mayor, council. This issue for you is to encumber money for the Crabtree Forest Main Park Hill Pump Station project. The project consists of installing 3 miles of force main, starting at the Crabtree Pump Station, running to the waste treatment plant, and a lift station and behind the Park Hill neighborhood. The city received about $6.1 million from the federal EDA in a grant, and 1.1 million from the state IRA grant to help fund the project. It requires a $1.5 million grant, a matching fund. And also we have to pay the difference between our estimated price and the actual bid price. And after taking the state grant out, it's about $800,000 difference. So I have the 1.5 million rolled over on the budget, and there we have a restricted fund balance of 4.3 million that we can encumber the 800,000 from. So looking to approve that, the allocated 1.5 and the 800,000 from the fund balance to cover this.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I would imagine so. Mr. Emmerich, do you see any error in our combining?
Absolutely not. That would be
Mayor, I
appropriate.
move that we combine items B and C under consideration for both pump stations, and move that we approve both pump stations.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Jordan,
I will say.
we have a properly seconded motion to approve items B and C in concert. Is there any discussion at all? Mr. Hyman?
I just said, I think it's one pump station, but the other one is.
That's correct. Yeah, one is the pump, one is for the encumbrance of the fund, the other one is for approving the bid on it, but it's fine to combine them for the voting purposes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you. All in favor then indicate so with a showing of your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item D, reclassification of a position in the police department. Chief Long.
Good afternoon, Mayor Council. The needs of the department continue to grow, and one area that unfortunately continues to grow is the need for additional victim services. Currently, our victim advocate is a part-time position, and it has gotten to the point where we just cannot get everything done that needs to be done. So I am asking to reclassify that as a full-time position, which would add just a little bit to my budget and a little bit of the benefits that goes with it.
Chief Long, I always thought that that position was full-time. So clearly I'm in favor, and I would move that we approve your request.
Thank
you. Is there a second, Mr. White?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor of approving the increase from part to full-time of our this position, please indicate so with a show of your right hand. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. We'll now hear from the administrator with his report. Did Finn cry?
The cry of joy, I hope.
I know.
Before I get started, I want to introduce to you James Rhodes. James is interning with our planning department. James, you want to come and say anything, or you?
Ah,
Put you on the spot.
let's hear from him.
James. Department before he began. He's already familiar with the city, and we're putting him to work.
He's also Charles Rhodes' son.
I'm just excited. I've been here 3 weeks and I've already learned a lot, which kind of says something about coastal, but I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more.
We're glad to have you.
Well, on that note, good job. Construction bids are out on the work for Smith Jones Pool. We have a required time frame to leave it open, so I believe within the next 2 weeks, we'll have the construction bids back and be ready to proceed. You're welcome. Landscaping began today on the new gateway sign at Conway High School. Hopefully, if you've seen it, it looks amazing. It's going to look even better once the landscaping is in. Keep Conway Beautiful has a new digital billboard campaign funded by grant proceeds. They're promoting the Adopt a Street program and cleanup efforts within the city. If anyone knows anyone that would like to adopt a street, please have them contact Nevada Miller with our hospitality and beautification department. Reminder that SCDOT has a scheduled public meeting at the Sports and Fitness Center on June 21st to discuss the intersection project at 378 and 16th Avenue. I believe the time published is 5 to 7 p.m. on that night. I wore my teal today in hopes that I'd be celebrating a finish today of the regional tournament. Unfortunately, while Coastal had a tremendous weekend, the weekend of yesterday and Monday was not as pleasant. Final score was 13-4. So I guess we wish East Carolina University good luck playing Texas starting soon. And I'm keeping it pretty short tonight. We do have one department head report, but I wanted to close with this. Tonight we passed a $64 million budget for the city. We increased mills from 77.3 to 82.7, which is a reflection of the cost of living increases that are massively affecting everything that we as a city do, just as they affect everybody at their own personal and business life. But what I want to share to you is a slightly different look at our budget. And Councilman Goldfinch, I think I shared this with you earlier, and you told me I needed to make sure I talked about this at some point. So I've been saving it for tonight. We did a huge cleanup of the warehouse on 378. We found a lot of historic documents that had been put aside for the future that have been collected for years, sent out there for storage. And we brought some of those documents back to City Hall, and we've been going through them and finding some real gems in there. And one of the things we found was this publication from the Municipal Association in 1964. And in this document is a recap of all the city's budgets in the state in 1964. And the really cool thing that I found is in 1964, the millage rate for Conway was 75 mills. And keep in mind that we just raised our rate from 77.3 to 82.7, so which is very similar. So nearly 60 years ago, our rate was 75. At that time, our budget was $352,000. That's our annual budget. We carried almost 3 times that amount in debt. We carried a debt of over $1 million. Our budget that we approved tonight was $64 million. also reflects the debt of the city, which stands at $1.4 million. So in the last 60 years, or 50 years, 60 years, we've grown the city from a population of 8,000 to a population of nearly 30, our budget from 350,000 to 64 million. And we've done it all without really increasing our debt and without really increasing our millage. So that is a testament to y'all being a very fiscally conservative and progressive government at the same time. So congratulations to you.
Us and those before us.
I'm sorry.
Us
And to those before you. That's
us.
correct. Well, I'm giving all the credit to the 7 right here. And then I want to turn it over to Brandon Harrelson from our Public Works Department with a report on the Public Works, Streets, and Stormwater Department. Thank you.
I always hate going after news like that.
And
Mayor, council, I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Public Works Department, we currently have 1 vacancy, a trades worker position. We've received some applications and beginning interviews. We've responded to and corrected 179 service requests in the past 90 days. We've performed 48 plan reviews and 42 inspections. 411 linear feet of sidewalk has been replaced in various locations throughout the city. We've also installed 3,600 feet of tile within the last 90 days. The Shakura drainage project is finally complete. Been going on for a while. We're pretty tickled. So summer crews have started their edging, cutting, cleaning sidewalks. We're also cutting right of ways. We're a little behind. When it rains, it pours. It seemed like when one tractor went down, the rest decided to quit on us too. So we're finally back to 100% and we're getting there. The wetland park. So we have the approval for the wetland delineation. They're currently doing a survey, topo and tree survey to be submitted to the city. And we are also in the process of applying for a no permit required to get in and restore the wetlands. We'll actually be able to go in and dig out and clean of years of debris and things like that. You will see some work going on here pretty soon. We're going to go in and start cleaning the wetlands, getting trees and overgrowth out that don't need to be in there so we can get native species back. So that should start within the next couple of weeks. The Recreation Center Road is underway. The construction easement has been recorded and the existing asphalt has been milled, and you will see stormwater starting to go in this week also. The stormwater master plan is ongoing. They have completed the Marina, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Avenue sector. And I found out today they've actually completed the Lakeland side. So we're working on that. That has an estimated completion date of around November, and we'll have a complete stormwater plan. And best news I have, CTC did award $757,464 to the city to resurface approximately 7.3 miles. This includes 5.2 miles of city roads and 2.1 miles of state roads. On that list, Wild Wing Boulevard, Race Path, Shakura Subdivision, Pearl Street, and Tinkertown are just a few of the roads. So we are waiting on DOT permits and we'll be paving. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
good news.
Thank you.
Mr. Hyman.
We had talked about 9th Avenue project. Would we be able to use any of the funds for that 9th Avenue?
The redesign of 9th Avenue.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at several different grants that might apply. Yeah, there's several equitable grants that we think we can certainly they meet the test. We're just not sure it meets all the criteria.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And now for council input. I happen to know who gets to speak first this evening, and I owe thanks to Alicia Shelley. I think she got a little tired of me sitting here at every single meeting saying, I don't know whether I should look to my right or left. I really appreciate that, Ms. Shelley. Ms. Butler.
Thank you. Sorry for my voice if you can't hear me well. I just wanted to give another congratulations to Conway High School, to the class of 2020. They did have graduation last week. And if I quote Dr. McKissick correctly, This graduating class had the highest graduation percentage in Conway High School history. So that was a big deal. So definitely want to give a huge thank you to Conway High School and their teachers for a successful graduation. That's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. First, welcome to Finn. My kids are going to be extremely upset. They've been stalking him on social media, so they won't Finn at our house, but unfortunately, they're not getting Finn at our house.
How about a substitute?
Mr. Goldfinch has the substitute. So, but in addition to that, congratulations again, like you said, to our graduates. And then thank you to our police department. Following the very unfortunate events in Texas, very comforting to do the school drop offs in the days to come after that. So thank you, Chief. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfinch.
How old is Finn? How old is Finn now? Okay, ours just turned 3. So we've got a miniature Bernedoodle, right? We will get that. We will make that happen. That was exciting, and they are such sweet dogs. One thing I'd like for staff to look at coming up, with inflation the way it is, if money's not making money, you're losing money, right? I mean, that makes sense. I don't know where we stand on that, but you can buy 2-year treasury notes in the 2.6 to 2.7 range. That's leaving 400, I think, at least 400 grand on the table on an annual basis. So I'm not saying that we should go to banks that we've done business with forever and just, pull everything out. But, we do have an obligation, and there is nothing safer than a treasury bill or note. So, and then lastly, I sort of want to jump on something that Mr. Jordan just said, as a parent, and I know we got grandparents up here too. There's nothing more terrifying, I don't think, than a school shooting. And it just makes you sick. And anyway, so I was at the grocery store and a lady came up to me and she had young kids and she said, "What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing?" And, we live in a free society. I mean, there's only so much you could do, but it was extremely comforting to say this to her. I have no control over what's going to happen, but I know that we've got one of the best police forces anywhere. And I can back that up with this, the state requires 40 hours of additional training every 3 years. Our department, correct me if my numbers are off, our department, City Conway Department, requires 150 hours a year. That's more than 10 times the required training. And every one of these situations is different. And you can never be 100% prepared for it. Never. But there is some comfort in knowing that probably the first officer that would get to a Conway school would be a City of Conway police officer. Likely. I mean, everybody would go, but likely it would probably be one of them. And so I just find a lot of peace and comfort in that. And so thank you, Chief, and your staff for doing that. It just, for what it's worth, it makes me feel a little bit better. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfinch. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question asked of me, and I wanted to ask of you as well, about Dewitt Street and 60th Avenue going into Mill Pond Road. Are we planning on opening that road up to go as a inlet or outlet to
come all the way to Mill Pond? There's no plans for that at this point.
Okay.
I've not even heard of any plans of that.
When the neighbors asked me, and I hadn't the slightest idea, so
I think we'd have to cross through the Recreation Department and wetlands. I don't think it's even possible.
the property that we purchased at Smith Jones, adjacent to Smith Jones on 378. Could we not put that a welcome sign there?
Yes, in fact, it's next on the list. We have City Hall building construction to get done and several other projects, and then that will be the next gateway sign to be built.
And could it also say, thanks for visiting Conway on one side?
Perhaps. It all depends on the view shed from that side. So if you can't see it easily as you're exiting, it's meant to be more of a welcoming gateway than a see you later when you get back.
Thank you, sir. One other thing, the bridge on 501, as you're coming into Conway, can we get something done about those trees that are so high up there, the grass, etc.? It's not a pleasing sight as you're coming into the town.
This is the bypass bridge.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's very dangerous to work on, but I'm sure we'll tackle it. Yeah.
And have we heard anything about the Dollar General building or business and healthcare? Partners?
Nothing official yet.
Last one, paving 378 and 701. Those two highways are very rough to drive on. I know it's not our road, but can we encourage or ask the DOT to do something about it?
We can do both of those things. We can't pave it, but we can encourage it.
Thanks, sir. I'm good now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hyman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. Again, I congratulate Coastal Baseball and Gary Gilmore. They've done excellent. I know that they didn't get to where they wanted to be, but Coastal is growing, but considering that year in and year out, they're one of the top teams in a country that's got, I don't know how many schools that have 50,000 kids. I mean, it's amazing that they can put out a product that is that good on a consistent basis. And it just says a lot about the fact that they're able to recruit well here and they're coached well, obviously. I also congratulate the Conway High grads. I did not know about the graduation rate. That is awesome. That is really, really exciting. One thing, this is on a completely different note, but Adam, you brought it up with talking about our budget and the fact that we really haven't raised our millage or anything like that. So frequently, we hear things like, I can't believe that the city wasted money on that and did this. And most of the time it's on social media. And a lot of times it's people that don't even live in the city. But what is so often the case is those are things that are actually not bought by taxpayers' money. It's so much of it is grants. And it's grants that if we don't apply for, somebody else is going to get them. And so many of those grants are used to make our city more enjoyable. And really, we talk about the quality of life and things that one person may think are silly may enhance the quality of life of someone else. So I just think it's great to hear about what you said about millage, but I do want people listening to understand that a lot of the stuff that they see, we're able to penny pinch and use grant funding and not just taxpayer money. But other than that, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Ms. Helms.
I want to say again, what everybody else said about the police. That was kind of a shock to the heart for those kids, but it's encouraging to know our police is on it and they care. And I also want to say that I love the flags when I'm riding through Conway. The flags are awesome. They're out, just riding around on the golf cart. I just appreciate how much I live in the city and how much it means to me. And for the staff, I call and ask them questions like what variances are, and they get right back to me. So I have a lot of dumb questions about that. So, and I rode down last night behind the county building, Santee Cooper, looked at the ash ponds, how pretty they were. And I saw lightning bolts for the first time since I was probably 15, which was an awesome experience. So I just want to say again, how much I love Conway and appreciate the staff and the police and the fire department. And that's all I got.
Thank you. I can't talk about the Texas massacre, but thank you, Chief Long, and thank you to all our officers. There's a program called Palmetto Heroes. I became aware of it through a publication through the Municipal Association that offers first-time homebuyers among our first responders financing with competitive interest rates and a $10,000 forgivable down payment assistance. It may be, that may be real important to some of the people who work with us. And I just wanted us to pursue information on that program and make sure that the people who work for the city of Conway are aware of that perk that's available. I'm going to lightly broach a subject that has just been bothersome since this is an election year, and we've had just a lot said about our political signs and about what ought to happen with them. I come from a place that says that litter is litter and rules are rules. There's an ordinance that speaks to the city of Conway and everybody who uses what we have here. And it says that there is a period of time that is open for placing political signs. It says how many signs can be in a place and where they can be. And when those things are violated, when that ordinance is violated, it is the city who takes the brunt of that. They will become litter forever unless we send somebody out to get them. We collect them. It takes time and effort. It takes taxpayer money to pick them up. I think that we're right to have rules along the line of political signage, and I think we're right to enforce those rules. I don't get it when people say that we shouldn't do that. I don't understand that at all. I just want to publicly say that I believe that we're doing the right thing. And if it's my sign, I need to pay. If there's a fine, I need to move it if it's in the wrong place. Doesn't really matter who the person is. If we're going to charge a family with litter when they toss their McDonald's bag out of the window, I don't see that as being any different from somebody's placing a political sign somewhere where it shouldn't be. And that's enough about that. If all hearts and minds are clear, that will conclude this meeting of the Conway City Council. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Goldfinch. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman. Thank you. All in favor of us closing the meeting, please raise your right hand, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you all.